when I first came to California in 1959, I'm 19 years old, stupid kid, 19, and I ended up in Los Angeles. And I ended up in North Hollywood. And so I used to walk down, this is back in 59, we're talking, 53 years ago? And so I used to walk downtown, because I only lived about 2 blocks from town. And so on weekends, I walked downtown. Well, I went down one morning, on Saturday morning, and went to a local restaurant, and the place was filled with people, but there was one chair open at the counter. So I sat at the counter, and then next to me was a girl about my age. She was about 17, I'm 19. So we got to talking, and come to find out she only lived a couple blocks from me, and I only lived a couple blocks in town. She had walked downtown, so had I. So we started meeting in downtown on weekends. And so when we walk home, I would get home before she would, because she lived 2 blocks further than me. And so one night she comes over to my place, and she says, "My father wants to see you. My dad wants to talk to you." And I didn't know what to think. I said, "I'm not interested to talk to you, Dad." And she said, my father's a very interesting man, and he wants to tell you something. He wants to talk to you. So I went with her. I don't know. I mean, it's just my girlfriend I meet downtown, but I don't know if anybody, her family. And so when I was walking up to the house with her, he happened by chance to be coming out the front door, and he saw us, and he motioned for us to come in. The moment I saw him, I got a reaction, an involuntary spiritual reaction. I felt something very strong about him. And the hair raised up on the back of my neck. I've never had that kind of feeling where it was involuntary. It just happened. And I looked at him, and he just motioned for us to come in. So I knew there was something strange about this man. But I felt more secure, because it's my girlfriend's father. So we went in, and her younger sister, about 11 years old, and the 2 girls, they sat on the floor, and the father sat on one end of the sofa, and I sat on the other. The mother was in the kitchen, and that night I never really saw her that night. But so we were talking, and he was asking me if I was working and how I liked my job, et cetera, and we were just chit-chatting and talking. And all of a sudden, he said to me, he said, "Remember back in Florida when your dad built a new back porch? Your uncle helped him tear down and build a new back porch, and he used green lumber. It smelled funny, the lumber did, because it was green lumber, and that scared me. And I didn't want to show tears in front of my girlfriend, but he frightened me. And he looked at me, and just very nonchalant, he said, "Well, do you remember that?" And I said, "Yes, I remember that." And he says, "I remember one night you were supposed to be sleeping, and you got up, and you were about 8 years old. And you got up, and you went out on the back porch. And you sat on that new back porch, and it smelled funny because the lumber was green, and you picked some of the lumber, you picked some of the wood with your fingers. Remember how you peeled some of the wood and was smelling it? And you were looking at the moon? Do you remember doing that?" And I just looked at him, because he was exactly right. And he said to me, "You talked to God that night, didn't you?" And I just shook my head, "Yes, I did." And he said, "Now, what did you say to God?" And I didn't answer him. I just looked at him. He said, "I'll tell you what you said. You said you wanted to do something important with your life, that you wanted your life to have a meaning, and you wanted to do something important with your life. Is that what you said?" And I looked at him and shook my head, "Yes, that's what I said." And then he said to me, "Well, how in the world would I know that? How would I know that?" And I told him, I said, "I don't know how you know that." And he said, "Well, was I right?" I said, "Yes, you're right." "Well, how would I know that?" And I said, "I don't know how." And he said, "Well, I know because we were there. We were right there, but you just didn't see us, did you?" And I said, I didn't see anyone. He said, that's right, but we were there. And if not, how would I know what happened if I wasn't there? And he said that you've always been interested in secrets and UFOs and aliens and all that kind of thing, haven't you? And I said, yes, all my life. And he said, yep, I know. And he said, would you like to see some UFOs up close tonight? And I said, yes, I would. And he said, well, come with me. I can do that for you. And so I got up and walked outside North Hollywood, northern suburb of Los Angeles, 1959. And my girlfriend and her sister and myself and him, the four of us walked out in the front yard about midnight. And he looks up into the sky and starts inaudibly talking. His mouth is moving, he's talking, but you can't hear him. And then he turns to me and he said, they said they'll be here in about 3 minutes. They're coming, they'll be here in just a couple of minutes. And I said, who? He says, to us. He said, you said you wanted to see UFOs tonight, didn't you? I said, yes. He said, well, then wait, they'll be here. They're coming right now in a couple of minutes. And they did. About 2 or 3 minutes later, 3 beautiful, gorgeous, beautiful disc-shaped craft came from over the horizon south going north. As it passed over us, it stopped. And there were 3 of them in a triangle formation. And each one of them were identical, about the same size of the moon, the full moon in the sky. So it wasn't just a light, it was full moon size, 3 of them, in a triangle formation. And they were, looks like a pie cut in 6 or 8 slices, and each slice was a different color. And it was circulating those colors, and they were very, very vivid colors. And it was absolutely beautiful with no sound whatsoever. And we stood there looking at them, the 2 girls, myself and the father. And then after a few moments, he started inaudibly talking to them again. And he said, they said they're going now. They're leaving, they're going north, and they're leaving now, but they will see you later. And they did. They started to move. And I watched them as they went into the north, and they were gone. And I said, my God, that was beautiful. I said, well, what was this I saw? And he said, that's us. We've been here for a long time. He says, so you asked God to let you do something, so we're going to let you do something. We have something for you to do, but it won't come to the very last part of your life. We have something for you to do, but it won't come to the last part of your life. And I said, what? And he says, that's not important right now. Just go on out and live your life. We will see to it you learn what you're supposed to. You will meet who you're supposed to. And when it's time for you to do what we brought you here to do, and I said, what do you mean brought me here? And he said, well, why are you in California? Why did you come to Los Angeles? I said, I don't know. I just had to do it. He said, that's right. We brought you here. So he said, so when it comes time for you to do what you're supposed to do, you know what it is. But that won't come for a long time. There'll be something at the very last part of your life. We have something for you to do. And that was it. So then he told me, he said, I'm going to start you on your journey tonight. So I'm going to give you a book. I want you to have this book, and it will start you on your journey. And he gave me a book which you can still get today, and any good bookstore still has copies of it today. It's called The Complete Works of Charles Fort. And it's an incredible book, and that's what he gave me. And he said, just go home and study this, just read it, and when it's time for you to do what we brought you here to do, you'll know what it is, so don't worry about it. Well, after that, that was in early 1959, after that, I started having all kinds of otherworld experiences. I mean, peak experiences, strange stuff, meeting strange people, seeing things, experiencing things. So there's no doubt in my mind that there's something going on here, and that I was in the presence of some sort of a higher intelligence though at the time it was just my girlfriend's father. But there's no doubt in my mind that he was not just an ordinary man. And that was not just by chance happening. I was supposed to meet him. No doubt in my mind about it. Yeah, and that's just one experience. For about a month and a half, 2 months, I would go over there on weekends. Sometimes I'd go over at night for a little while, and then I'd go on weekends. And sometimes the whole family, the mother included, we would take off and we would go about 50 miles north of Los Angeles, and that's back in '59, a long time ago. And we'd go out to the desert, and we'd go out to the desert, and he would tell me all about the different alien life forms who were here, the different ones who have come here, and some of them are enemies with each other. And he would tell me about the different alien groups that are here. And I was just a kid, 19-year-old kid, but I was fascinated with this man who knew so much and who could look up into the sky and call for UFOs, and they show up. One morning I went over there on a Saturday morning to see them, and they were gone. The house was wide open. All the doors are wide open, and they moved, and I never saw them again, ever. My girlfriend didn't tell me she was leaving. Nobody said anything. They were just gone forever.